In a world where our actions and decisions are often governed by hidden, emotional currents rather than cold, calculated logic, Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature offers a roadmap to understanding ourselves and the people around us. This transformative work challenges us to look beyond surface-level interactions and dive deep into the complex mechanics of human behavior, inviting readers to discover the invisible forces shaping our choices. Greene's masterful narrative combines historical anecdotes, psychological research, and timeless wisdom, making the book not only an intriguing exploration of human behavior, but also an essential guide for anyone seeking to enhance their self-awareness and interpersonal skills. As we embark on this intellectual journey together, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of how our subconscious biases, passions, and innate tendencies can influence every aspect of our lives, even when we believe we are acting purely on rational thought. At the heart of Greene's exploration lies the recognition that irrationality is an inherent part of the human experience. The opening chapter, often heralded as the law of irrationality, sets the stage for the entire book by unraveling the ways in which our emotions and deep-seated biases drive our behavior. Greene argues that while logic and reason are prized ideals in our modern society, they often fall short in capturing the entirety of human nature. Instead, our decisions are frequently the byproducts of a blend of instinct, emotion, and unconscious forces that have evolved over centuries. This chapter is a call to arms. It beckons us to recognize the limitations of our rational faculties and to learn how to navigate the unpredictable terrain of our inner lives. Throughout this chapter, Greene meticulously dissects the roots of human irrationality, drawing on a rich tapestry of historical examples and psychological insights. He shows how individuals who achieve great success are not those who are devoid of emotion, but rather those who have learned to understand and harness their emotions to their advantage. The narrative is layered with vivid examples from history, figures whose personal triumphs and downfalls are used to illustrate how unchecked emotions can lead to reckless, self-destructive choices, or conversely, how emotional intelligence can empower us to rise above our baser instincts. Greene's exploration into the nature of irrationality is both a diagnosis and a prescription. By identifying the various ways our emotions can hijack our decision-making processes, he offers practical strategies to reclaim control over our behavior. A significant portion of the chapter is dedicated to elucidating the mechanisms by which our minds distort reality. Greene explains that our perceptions are often clouded by cognitive biases that have their roots in our evolutionary past, biases that once served a purpose for survival, but now skew our understanding of the modern world. He details how these biases manifest in our everyday interactions, leading us to misinterpret others' intentions, overestimate our abilities, or fall prey to the seductive allure of conformity. In doing so, Greene underscores the importance of cultivating a level of self-awareness that enables us to step back and assess our thoughts and actions from a more objective standpoint. By doing so, we can begin to unravel the tangled web of emotions and impulses that often steer us away from rationality. Moreover, Greene emphasizes that understanding our irrational side is not about eradicating our emotions, but rather about recognizing them as powerful allies that, when managed correctly, can inform our decisions and enrich our lives. The chapter encourages readers to adopt a reflective mindset, one that questions the immediate impulses that arise in moments of stress or excitement. It suggests practical ways to build this reflective capacity, drawing on both ancient philosophical practices and modern psychological techniques. Through this blend of wisdom and empirical insight, Greene provides a nuanced view of human nature, one that respects the complexity of our internal world, and offers a roadmap to harnessing the full spectrum of our mental and emotional capabilities. By the end of this initial exploration, readers are left with a profound realization that the journey toward mastering human nature begins with an honest acknowledgement of our own irrational tendencies. Rather than deeming them as flaws to be eradicated, Greene teaches us to understand and work with these impulses. He posits that self-mastery is not achieved by suppressing our emotions but by learning to navigate and channel them constructively. This introspective process is the cornerstone upon which a more thoughtful, authentic life can be built, a life guided by an awareness of the intricate dance between reason and passion. How might acknowledging and understanding your own irrational impulses transform the way you interact with the world around you? In the opening chapter, Recognize the Biases of Human Nature, Robert Greene sets the stage for the profound journey into the hidden forces that shape our behaviors, beliefs, and interactions. Greene's mission is to peel back the layers of our everyday actions and reveal the often overlooked instincts and cognitive distortions that govern our lives. At its core, this chapter, and indeed the entire book, is an invitation to understand ourselves on a deeper level, by acknowledging that our perceptions and decisions are not purely the product of rational thought, but are significantly influenced by a series of ingrained biases. Greene elucidates how these biases, forged by centuries of evolution and cultural conditioning, create a distorted lens through which we view the world, affecting everything from our personal relationships to our professional lives. In his engaging narrative, Greene explains that the biases of human nature are subtle, yet powerful. They manifest in our judgments and interactions, often without us even realizing it. This chapter is designed to alert us to the fact that we are not the purely rational beings we like to believe ourselves to be, but rather creatures deeply influenced by instinct and emotion. Greene insists that by recognizing these biases, we arm ourselves with the necessary knowledge to mitigate their adverse effects. He presents a compelling argument that self-awareness is the first step toward reclaiming the true essence of our decision-making process, a notion that underpins the book's broader goal of achieving a higher state of personal mastery and understanding. The structure of this chapter is methodically crafted to guide the reader through a transformation in perspective. Greene begins by discussing the historical and evolutionary origins of these biases, highlighting how they once served crucial survival functions. However, in today's complex society, these same biases can lead to distorted thinking and errors in judgment. He masterfully intertwines historical anecdotes with modern psychological insights, demonstrating that these archaic influences are not just remnants of a bygone era, but are very much alive in our daily lives. Greene's approach is both diagnostic and prescriptive. He not only identifies the sources and manifestations of bias, but also provides a framework for recognizing and overcoming them. As the chapter unfolds, Greene delves into various cognitive biases, such as confirmation bias, where we tend to favor information that supports our pre-existing beliefs, and the tendency to rationalize decisions that may be fundamentally flawed. He explains that these biases create a self-reinforcing cycle, in which our initial, often emotional, reactions influence the way we perceive subsequent events and information. By anchoring his explanations in historical case studies and behavioral research, Greene presents a rich tapestry of evidence that underscores the universal nature of these biases. His narrative serves as a wake-up call in order to truly understand the people around us, and more importantly ourselves. We must first learn to recognize the distortions that cloud our judgment. Furthermore, Greene emphasizes that acknowledging these biases is not an exercise in self-criticism, but a pathway to empowerment. In a culture that prizes rationality, admitting that we are susceptible to irrational impulses might seem like a confession of weakness. However, Greene reframes this admission as a necessary step toward enlightenment. By confronting our inherent biases, we can begin to see the world more clearly and engage with it more authentically. This shift in perception is crucial, not only for personal growth but also for fostering more empathetic and effective interactions with others. The chapter advocates for a continuous process of self-reflection, urging readers to regularly question their assumptions and seek out objective perspectives to counterbalance their natural inclinations. Through the analytical lens provided in Recognize the Biases of Human Nature, Greene invites us to explore our inner workings with the curiosity of a scientist and the compassion of a philosopher. His writing inspires readers to dismantle the automatic thought patterns that often lead to misunderstandings and conflicts, proposing instead a life led by informed awareness and thoughtful deliberation. As we come to grips with our cognitive distortions, we gain the tools needed not only to improve our decision-making, but to enrich our relationships and drive positive change in our communities. By the conclusion of this chapter, readers are left with a powerful realization. The journey toward mastering human nature begins with a simple, yet transformative act of self-awareness. It is through the recognition and understanding of our biases that we can begin to reclaim our true potential and navigate life with a more balanced and enlightened perspective. How might a deeper acknowledgement of your own cognitive biases reshape the way you make decisions, and build relationships in a world steeped in complexity. In the second chapter of The Laws of Human Nature, Robert Greene offers a concise yet profound summary of the key laws that govern our behavior and shape our interactions with the world. He begins with the law of irrationality, which exposes the fundamental truth that our emotional forces, rather than reason, are the primary drivers of human behavior. According to Greene, our decisions are often clouded by deep-seated emotions that precede rational thought, leading us to form opinions and take actions based on immediate feelings rather than careful analysis. He illustrates how even the most successful individuals are not immune to these emotional currents, and he urges us to recognize and understand our irrational impulses. By doing so, we gain the power to temper our instincts, avoid hasty judgments, and ultimately make more informed, balanced decisions. Following closely is the law of narcissism, a concept that delves into the self-centered tendencies hidden in each of us. Greene explains that while a degree of self-interest is natural, an excess of narcissism can distort our perspective and relationships. This law underscores the importance of acknowledging that everyone harbors narcissistic traits to varying extents, from the overtly self-absorbed to the seemingly humble. By understanding the spectrum of narcissism in human nature, we learn to identify these traits both in ourselves and in others, allowing us to navigate social dynamics with greater empathy and strategic insight. Greene's insights remind us that cultivating self-awareness and understanding the roots of our self-interest are crucial in transforming potentially harmful narcissism into a force for personal growth and authentic connection. The chapter then moves to the law of role-playing, where Greene reveals the masks we wear in our daily interactions. He argues that most people are not as transparent as they might seem. Rather, they adopt various roles to achieve acceptance or to protect themselves from the vulnerabilities of their true nature. By understanding role-playing as a natural part of social life, we are better equipped to see beyond the facade and grasp the deeper intentions hidden behind external behaviors. This law teaches us that the art of discerning genuine emotion from pretense is essential for building meaningful relationships. It also encourages us to reflect on our own roles and the potential disconnect between our public masks and private truths, urging us to pursue a greater authenticity in our lives. Next, Greene introduces the law of compulsive behavior, a law that exposes the repetitive, almost mechanical patterns that underlie much of our conduct. He posits that much of what we consider to be unique or spontaneous behavior is, in fact, deeply habitual, rooted in early experiences and reinforced through time. According to Greene, these compulsion-driven behaviors trap individuals in cycles of self-sabotage or prevent them from reaching their full potential. By identifying these habitual patterns, we open a window into our subconscious, which not only allows us to understand why we behave the way we do, but also provides the opportunity to break free from destructive cycles. Greene's exploration of compulsion underscores the importance of self-reflection and conscious change, inviting us to challenge long-held behaviors that no longer serve us. Finally, the chapter touches on the law of covetousness, which encompasses both desire and curiosity. This law reveals the underlying motivations that drive us to seek out what we do not have, be it material wealth, power, or even the intangible allure of forbidden knowledge. Greene explains that covetousness is a double-edged sword. It can fuel great ambition and innovation when channeled constructively, yet it can also lead to envy, obsession, and social discord when left unchecked. The law encourages us to explore the roots of our desires and to understand how they shape our identity and relationships. By doing so, we can harness the energy of our ambitions and curiosities in a positive direction, transforming potentially destructive impulses into creative forces that propel us toward greater achievement and self-realization. Throughout this chapter, Greene weaves together a tapestry of historical examples, psychological insights, and practical observations, presenting each law not as a rigid rule, but as an integral facet of human nature. His narrative invites readers to embark on a journey of self-discovery, suggesting that by recognizing these innate biases and tendencies, we are better equipped to navigate the complexities of our inner lives and the world around us. In this light, the laws of human nature becomes not just a theoretical exploration, but a practical guide for personal empowerment and transformation. How might embracing these fundamental laws alter the way you understand your own behavior and influence the relationships that shape your destiny. In Chapter 3 of The Laws of Human Nature, titled Deep Insights into Human Behavior, Robert Greene begins to pull the curtain back on the unconscious mechanisms that silently govern how we think, feel, and act. This chapter serves as a powerful lens into the emotional undercurrents that shape human nature, emphasizing that if we wish to master ourselves and others, we must begin by studying the forces beneath the surface. Greene argues that while many people believe they are rational, thoughtful individuals, most are far more emotionally driven than they realize. Emotions form the foundation of our decisions, our interactions, and our internal narratives. They arise before thought and often shape it, masquerading as logic and objectivity. Learning to recognize and manage these emotions, rather than allowing them to control us, is at the heart of developing deeper insight into ourselves and others. One of the central ideas Greene explores is the role of emotional contagion and social influence, particularly in our hyper-connected world. Humans are inherently social creatures, and much of our behavior is shaped by the people around us. This is not just a matter of imitation, it's a survival mechanism embedded deep in our evolutionary past. However, in the modern world, this powerful tendency to conform and absorb the emotional energy of others has taken on a new intensity. Greene refers to this phenomenon as social overload. The overwhelming volume of opinions, emotional signals, and external expectations we constantly receive from social media, cultural trends, and mass communication. This overload clouds our internal clarity and makes it harder to separate our true thoughts and values from those projected onto us. In this chaotic environment, becoming a more rational, self-directed personality is not a luxury. It's a necessity for personal autonomy and mental well-being. To counter the influence of social overload and impulsive emotional reactions, Greene proposes the development of a rational mindset. But this is not about suppressing emotion or becoming coldly analytical. Instead, it's about cultivating emotional distance, creating a psychological space between stimulus and response. Greene offers practical suggestions to foster this kind of rationality, including slowing down decision-making, examining one's emotions before acting, and reflecting on past experiences to identify patterns in behavior. A rational individual is not emotionless. Rather, they understand their emotions, use them as informative signals, and refuse to let fleeting impulses determine their actions. This kind of clarity is a form of power. It allows one to act with purpose, rather than being buffeted by external forces. The chapter also dives into the process of self-improvement, particularly through the lens of recognizing and addressing personal flaws. Greene makes it clear that transformation begins with brutal honesty, the ability to see ourselves as we truly are. This is often uncomfortable work. Most people are quick to point out flaws in others, but struggle to acknowledge their own. Greene stresses that self-awareness is the gateway to real growth. Without it, we remain trapped in cycles of reactive behavior, unable to escape our compulsions and end blind spots. But once we bring our patterns into conscious awareness, whether it's a tendency toward anger, insecurity, or manipulation, we can begin to rewire them through conscious effort and repeated practice. Greene emphasizes that change is not instantaneous. It is a slow, deliberate process that requires consistent effort and self-reflection. He encourages readers to observe themselves in action, to study their emotional responses, and to track the origins of those responses back to childhood experiences, unmet needs, or social conditioning. By doing so, we gain leverage over these patterns. Greene also suggests that working on our weaknesses openly, without shame or fear of judgment, is one of the most courageous and powerful acts we can undertake. When we stop pretending to be perfect and embrace the work of becoming better, we break through the illusions that keep us stuck and begin to act from a place of authenticity and strength. Throughout the chapter, Greene balances insight with action, showing that deep understanding of human behavior is not merely an intellectual exercise, but a practical tool for life. By studying the emotional roots of behavior, becoming aware of social influences, and taking deliberate steps toward self-mastery, we build a foundation for true personal power. We learn to lead ourselves first, calmly, intentionally, before we attempt to influence or lead others. The message of this chapter is clear. To navigate the world successfully, we must first understand and navigate ourselves. In a time when external noise and internal confusion dominate so much of our lives, the laws of human nature calls us back to an ancient truth, that self-knowledge is the beginning of wisdom and the key to transformation. So the question is this: if you could uncover and transform just one deeply rooted pattern within yourself, what new version of your life might begin to take shape? In Chapter 4 of the Laws of Human Nature, titled How This Book Can Help Us Progress in Life, Robert Greene takes a reflective turn, helping readers understand how the principles explored in the book are not merely theoretical insights into human behavior, but powerful tools for real-world transformation. This chapter is a roadmap for personal development and professional success, focusing specifically on the cultivation of strong leadership skills and meaningful interpersonal relationships. Greene makes it clear that progress in life, whether in business, creativity, or personal growth, is fundamentally tied to how well we understand and manage human nature, both in ourselves and in others. At the heart of Greene's argument is the idea that great leadership is not born from charisma alone, nor is it a function of dominance or control. Instead, true leadership stems from empathy, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence, qualities that allow one to read the moods, motivations, and desires of others while maintaining clarity of purpose. Greene points out that history's most successful leaders were not those who simply commanded authority, but those who understood people deeply and navigated complex social dynamics with skill and subtlety. They knew how to build loyalty, diffuse tension, and inspire others, all by recognizing the emotional undercurrents that drive human behavior. This kind of leadership is not reactive. It is strategic, intentional, and grounded in an honest appraisal of both self and environment. One of the core messages of the chapter is that interpersonal success depends on our ability to connect authentically with others. Greene explains that many of our failures in relationships stem from a lack of self-awareness and an inability to truly listen. We are often too caught up in our own thoughts, insecurities, or assumptions to pay close attention to the emotional needs of those around us. The book encourages readers to develop what Greene calls a radar for human nature, a kind of social intuition that allows us to perceive what others are feeling, even when it is not explicitly stated. This sensitivity is not a gift, but a skill, one that can be cultivated through observation, experience, and deliberate practice. It is this heightened awareness that helps us build trust, resolve conflicts, and forge deeper, more resilient connections in all areas of life. Greene reinforces the importance of self-reflection and continuous growth as the foundation of long-term success. He emphasizes that the most effective individuals are not those who pretend to be flawless, but those who are willing to examine their weaknesses, confront their limitations, and evolve. He warns against the dangers of rigid thinking and emotional defensiveness, reminding readers that the ability to adapt is one of the most valuable traits in a rapidly changing world. To succeed, one must be willing to question their own assumptions, embrace constructive feedback, and learn from mistakes, not once, but continually. In this way, the path to mastery is not a destination, but a lifelong process of refining one's understanding and behavior. The chapter also touches on the mantra of success through self-awareness, which involves aligning one's internal world with external actions. Greene argues that many people are held back not by external circumstances, but by inner conflicts, unacknowledged fears, unresolved insecurities, and sabotage progress. By bringing these internal patterns into conscious awareness, we can begin to work with them rather than against them. This process demands patience and perseverance. Real growth, Greene reminds us, does not happen overnight. It requires the courage to face uncomfortable truths and the resilience to stay committed, even when change feels slow or difficult. Throughout the chapter, Greene paints a picture of a life lived with intention, one in which we are not merely reacting to circumstances, but proactively shaping our paths through mindful choices and emotional clarity. He encourages readers to think of themselves as apprentices in the art of human nature, constantly learning, evolving, and fine-tuning their approach to life and relationships. Leadership and influence, he argues, do not come from manipulation, but from understanding. By knowing what drives people, what they fear, what they crave, and how they see themselves, we gain a tremendous advantage, not to exploit, but to connect, uplift, and inspire. In sum, this chapter serves as a powerful reminder that true success, whether in leadership, relationships, or personal fulfillment, begins with mastering ourselves. It is through the cultivation of emotional intelligence, empathy, patience, and a relentless desire to grow that we become not only more effective in the world, but more fulfilled in our own lives. Greene's message is both timeless and timely. To thrive in a world full of complexity, we must first simplify the most complicated subject of all, ourselves. So ask yourself this: what might your life look like if you committed fully to understanding yourself and others on a deeper level, not just for success, but for something even more powerful, true connection and growth? In Chapter 5, Practical Techniques to Learn from the Book, Robert Greene shifts the focus from understanding human nature to applying that understanding in meaningful, transformative ways. While earlier chapters laid the philosophical and psychological groundwork, this chapter provides readers with clear, actionable tools to begin cultivating mastery over their own behaviors, emotions, and interactions. Greene's message is that the path to personal power and growth lies not only in insight, but in the consistent practice of these techniques in everyday life. One of the most foundational skills Greene emphasizes is the development of emotional intelligence, a cornerstone of all human interaction and self-mastery. Emotional intelligence, as Greene presents it, begins with the simple but profound act of recognizing emotions as they arise within us. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions, unaware that what they interpret as rational thought is often just emotion in disguise. Greene teaches that by slowing down and naming our emotional reactions, whether it's anger, envy, fear, or excitement, we can create space between stimulus and response. This pause, though brief, gives us the power to choose a more measured, strategic reaction instead of a knee-jerk one. But recognizing emotion is only part of the picture. Greene also stresses the importance of active listening, a skill that is deceptively difficult and rarely practiced with intention. To truly listen, we must set aside our internal monologue, drop the urge to interrupt or judge, and focus fully on what the other person is communicating, not just through words but tone, body language, and subtext. Greene argues that active listening not only reveals the emotional landscape of others, but also builds deep trust, allowing us to connect on a level that is both powerful and rare. When people feel truly heard, they become more open, more cooperative, and more receptive to influence. Key advantages in any kind of social or professional environment. Beyond mastering our emotions and our listening skills, Greene encourages us to engage in mental exercises that sharpen our independence of thought. In a world saturated with opinions, trends, and echo chambers, the ability to think for oneself is a rare and valuable strength. Greene advises that we regularly review our own thoughts, examining where our beliefs come from, whether they are rooted in personal experience or borrowed from others, and whether they serve us or limit us. This self-scrutiny helps us break free from inherited biases and cultural programming, making space for more original and effective thinking. Greene believes that those who can detach from the group mindset and assess situations objectively possess a unique form of power, one grounded in clarity and truth rather than illusion. This mental autonomy also supports our ability to thrive on what Greene calls the social stage, the complex, ever-changing realm of human interaction. According to Greene, one of the most effective techniques for improving in this area is to study role models, people who possess the qualities, skills, or presence we admire. Rather than simply observing these individuals passively, Greene urges us to analyze what makes them successful in social situations. How do they carry themselves? How do they respond to conflict? How do they influence without forcing? By studying and even imitating such figures in small, intentional ways, we can begin to internalize their strengths and build our own social fluency. Another vital practice Greene highlights is mastering the art of interaction. He reminds us that people are not moved by logic alone. They are moved by how they feel in our presence. To influence others and build meaningful relationships, we must become students of tone, body language, timing, and empathy. Greene encourages us to experiment with our behavior in social settings, treating life itself as a kind of stage where we can refine our performance. This doesn't mean being fake or manipulative. It means being conscious, adaptable, and intentional in how we present ourselves. Over time, this level of social awareness becomes second nature, allowing us to move through the world with greater ease, connection, and influence. Ultimately, this chapter reinforces the idea that real transformation is not about dramatic one-time shifts, but about consistent practice of these techniques over time. Greene believes that by becoming more emotionally attuned, intellectually autonomous, and socially skilled, we place ourselves on a path toward mastery, not only of human nature, but of our own potential. Each technique builds on the next, creating a layered, resilient foundation for navigating life's many challenges. So, the question becomes, if you began practicing even just one of these techniques today, what kind of transformation might unfold in your life over the next year? And how far could that shift carry you in your relationships, your goals, and your sense of self? As the laws of human nature comes to a close, Robert Greene leaves us not with a final chapter of closure, but with an enduring invitation to begin a new journey, one of continuous awareness, deep reflection, and deliberate action. The conclusion of this monumental work is not merely a summation of ideas, but a powerful call to personal transformation. Greene wants readers to understand that the path to mastering human nature does not end with reading the book. It truly begins after it. What he offers is a kind of mirror, reflecting our hidden motivations, unconscious behaviors, and deeply embedded patterns, and he challenges us to confront them with courage, patience, and intention. Greene reminds us that while human nature is ancient and consistent, our awareness of it does not have to be passive or fatalistic. In fact, becoming conscious of the laws that govern behavior is the first, essential step toward transcending them. He warns that many people live their entire lives at the mercy of their emotions, driven by insecurities, envy, fear, or validation-seeking behaviors, without ever realizing it. The conclusion of the book is a powerful reminder that this unconscious existence is a form of bondage. True freedom and true power comes from knowing what drives us and choosing how we respond. The ultimate message Greene delivers is this: the mastery of human nature is the key to self-mastery. We must learn to look inward before looking outward, to examine the roles we play, the reactions we repeat, and the illusions we live by. We are not born with this awareness. It must be cultivated. And this process is not quick or easy. It requires time, discipline, and an unwavering commitment to growth. But the rewards are immeasurable. By understanding ourselves, we become more effective leaders, better communicators, and more grounded individuals. We gain the ability to influence others, not through manipulation, but through authenticity and insight. Greene also emphasizes that the laws of human nature are neutral. They are not inherently good or bad. They simply are. Just as gravity governs the physical world, these laws govern the social and emotional world. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away. It only leaves us vulnerable to their unseen effects. By learning how to navigate them, we place ourselves in a stronger position, not to dominate others, but to protect ourselves, to lead wisely, and to foster healthier, more fulfilling relationships. As the book ends, Greene subtly shifts the responsibility onto the reader. He has given the tools, the strategies, and the insights, but it is up to each of us to use them. Knowledge without application is inert. The true impact of this book lies in how we integrate its lessons into our daily lives. And this, Greene insists, begins with awareness, noticing our emotional triggers, catching ourselves in the moment of reaction, paying attention to patterns we may have ignored for years. Through awareness comes choice. Through choice comes change. To help you move forward with the knowledge gained from this book, consider committing to small but consistent acts of self-observation each day. Make it a habit to reflect on your emotional responses, what triggered them, how they influenced your actions, and whether your reaction served your greater purpose. Use journaling as a tool to bring the unconscious into the conscious, allowing you to spot recurring patterns and see your own story with fresh eyes. Practicing empathy is equally vital, not just as a tool for navigating others, but as a way to expand your understanding of human complexity. When you engage with someone, take a moment to ask what they might be feeling beneath the surface, what needs or fears might be influencing their behavior. Another practical step is to surround yourself with people who reflect the qualities you want to cultivate: patience, clarity, humility, and emotional resilience. These role models, whether in real life or in literature and history, serve as living examples of what is possible when human nature is understood and mastered. At the same time, become a role model for others. Use your awareness to lead by example. Speak less from ego and more from understanding. Be slow to judge, quick to observe, and always willing to learn. Finally, stay humble. Mastery of human nature is a lifelong endeavor, not a destination. Even the most self-aware individuals fall into old patterns from time to time. The goal is not perfection, but progress. Every step toward greater consciousness is a victory, and each moment of reflection is a small act of transformation. The key is consistency. Over time, as you align more closely with the truths of human nature, both your own and others, you will begin to experience life with greater clarity, deeper connection, and more authentic power. So, here is the final question. What would your life look like if you truly understood the forces that shaped your every thought, feeling, and action? And how might everything change if you chose, from this moment forward, to become a conscious participant in your own evolution?